Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to be here. I want to say thank you to Jeremy and Danielle and everyone who came to hear me. I have my phone because those are my notes, so I can keep track of myself. So a little bit about me is I am the great-great-grandchild of John Henry and Leela Bowden Brown Suttles. I'm the great-grandchild of Arthur and Cornelia Suttles Smiley. I'm the grandson of Edward and Ernestine Suttles Canley, and I'm the son of Daryl and Barbara Suttles Copeland, and I'm the father of Ivy J. Cameron. I did that because the work that I do is passed down through the generations. This death and dying work is work that I was born into. I didn't really have a choice. Death chose me, and I chose death back. And growing up, my great-grandmother and her sisters and my grandmother, they served people that were sick and dying as first a service to God and then a way to build communities. And it impacted me early because the first death that I saw was probably 5 years old. And we went, and he was in the in-between stages of life and death. I don't really think my grandparents knew what was happening, but I'm like, this man isn't here, but he's here. But he's leaving, but he's still present. So we're singing, and he's in between life and death, and they're singing, and they're holding his hand, and we leave from the nursing home. 3-4 hours later, we got the call that he had transitioned. I don't think they actively saw him going through those spaces. They really just thought they was there to provide a service of religious comfort, care, support. They were sharecroppers, so didn't have much education. They picked cotton. My grandmother, she's 81. She has scars from picking cotton. So anybody over the age of 77 in my family was sharecroppers, and they picked cotton to make it until they migrated up here. So pain, when I heard it, I was probably silent for about 2 minutes because I didn't know what that meant for me. And I'm like, I don't know how I could navigate that, because I said, I don't feel pain the way that most folks feel pain. And then I sat with it. I said, well, you do, but you have to compartmentalize the pain. I have to take the pains in this death work. So for instance, I got a call in 2021 that one of my younger relatives had passed. Didn't know. His mother called, and she said, hey, what are you doing? I said, nothing. She said, sit down. I sat down, and she said, Kyron's dead. Instantly, I wanted to hit the floor, roll around on the ground, cry, and do all of these things. But I couldn't, because I'm on the phone with his mother. So it hit here, stomach dropped, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to navigate, because I'm on the phone with his mother. She's strong right now. It will be irresponsible of me to take in that pain and just wail and cry and do all of those things. So my first thing was, I said, well, what do I need to do to help you? What are you doing? Do I need to come over? Do I need to ride with you to the school where he was at? We didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't want to ask for what happened, how it happened. All of these questions started coming and coming and coming, and all those emotions. And I said, I could not move into those spaces. I had to take it in and provide the service. I said, do I need to go over to your house to clean your house? Because I know that when she gets home, it's going to be flooded with people. I had to be more proactive and start thinking through those things, because that pain would transcend to his mother through the phone, and she would become uncomfortable and cry and hurt and sorrow and grief. So as a death doula, I have to be able to navigate all of those things. I have to be able to take in the pain, deal with it internally, and then after I figure out how to move, how to navigate, and how to provide the best service, that's when I'm able to unpack and release those things. But I have to be able to understand first and not just go with my emotions. That pain that folks feel when you're serving somebody with cancer. One of the most horrible things I saw, a woman go from 350 pounds down to 125. Pancreatic cancer. It was awful. And she had the physical pain of death and dying. And because of the cancer, her stomach had started to grow, and it's so big, but she was so small. And she cried out in pain, just wails, oh, just turning side to side. But she wanted me to place my hand on her side and touch the pain inside her physical pains. But the pressure, even though that hurt, gave her relief. And I had to learn by how much pressure she's putting on my hand when she needed it again, how much pressure to give and provide to give her comfort, even though my touch caused so much pain. But it was good pain for her because it gave her a sense of relief, even though it didn't give her relief. And it's when you're in these spaces, you have to be able to think through. You have to have a certain level of emotional intelligence to help guide you through these physical pains. Lady with sickle cell, a blood disease, is primarily in Black folks. And all she wanted was to cover her up because she was cold. The touch of the cover going across her skin caused her so much pains on her body that she would just cry. Now, do I want to cry? Do I want to hurt like they hurt? Do I want to dive into I do. Sometimes it's a lot, but I can't. I have to be the support. I have to be the grounding of how to best serve this person, even though I really can't do anything but be present. I can't do anything but give them the best of what I have to make those ending days and the last days the most comfortable. And she died shortly after, but her pains, not only did it affect her physically, she had the highs and lows of sadness, of having good days and bad days, and worrying about, well, what's going to happen to my children, what's going to happen to my sisters, my brothers, and all. She was the most established in the family. And then those pains went into her sisters, her kids, her brothers, because now they're like, well, she's hurting. What are we supposed to do? Really nothing you can do but be there. Touch her if she allows you to. And support in ways that you know would find a relief with scents and with smells. So she loved the smell of like cinnamon. So they would bring like cinnamon sticks and cinnamon candles just to give her comfort, just to give her some type of space that was more comforting than just sitting in her hospital bed in her room and just being present. We have to learn things about people, even in death. You know, things that they used to like, they don't like anymore because taste is not the same. Touch is not the same. the mental health is not the same. And all of these pains, they affect the dying, the core community, and how to be the guiding factor to love your family members or your loved ones so they're able to transition well, transition with dignity, transition with the support that they need so that when they leave, those pains can turn into happiness because you've given them the support. They're no longer here. You have memories of how you knew you did the best of your ability to best serve them. You don't have to have a regret. You don't have to have, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have did this. If I had the opportunity to do this, I would have done this. Another pain is, I tell people all the time that it's a privilege to go through the dying process. Because some of us won't. Some of us are going to, God forbid, go out, be driving one day, instantly gone. Somebody's going to have a big celebration, go home to never see that person ever again. I did a funeral on Sunday. The young man was only 55 years old. He went to Thanksgiving with his family, was the life of the party, sat with his mother, who will be 90 if she lives next year. Went home, had a heart attack. That's a different type of pain because you didn't get to anticipate the grief. You didn't get to sit and soak in that grief to plan out, what am I going to do when this person leaves? This person has died suddenly. Now, you have to learn what to do. How am I going to do life without this person? How am I going to be able to, who am I going to call? We used to crack jokes. We used to do all of these things. The privilege of going through the dying process is these people get to tell their loved ones, the doctors told me I had 6 months to live. They get to set things in order. They get to go over life insurance policies. They get to go over power. They get to go through all of the steps of dying. Their family members get to cry and grieve even before they die. They get to put in action plans on how to care, how to serve, how to build community. When I come inside of a death, it's about building community because I need to know who's the person who's going to be in charge when you leave. I need to know when you're no longer able to communicate. Who do I talk to? Who do the doctors talk to? How do we do all of these things that you want? Excuse me. I mean, you can't even make a decision. You're going to, at a certain point, your body's going to shut down. You're not going to be able to talk. You're going to be on medications that's going to make you sleepy and drowsy. You won't be lucid. You won't any of those things anymore. So now the community and core group of people are the folks who's going to have to stand in the way of making sure that every need, want, wish that you have is executed. Because you can't do it. So the community is, when I come in, I need to know who's going to be my problem child. Because somebody's going to come from 2-3 states away to try to tell me what I'm supposed to do. You know, and I'm going to be here like, this is not what she said. This is not how she said it. So I need to know who am I probably going to have to cuss out for you. Because I am, right? I will, even if it's your mother. Because when people call me, they want me because of how I communicate, how I'm assertive. I will cuss your mother out. I will. I'm telling the truth. I'll cuss her out. Because it's not actually about you. It's about the dying person. And most people don't understand that. They don't understand that this person has made wishes, made plans. And then you come in and say, my sister said that she wanted it this way. But your sister wrote it down. So, because I'm only an advocate, I don't make decisions. I have to navigate that between the families. And I can do things outside of the scope of hospice and social workers because I can cuss somebody out. Like literally I can, and they can't do anything about it. Except tell me to leave, and that's okay. Just send me my check, right? So, but they come in and they do all of these things. So now you have to figure out how to communicate with this aunt, this cousin, this person who is grieving, who's in pain. And the only way they're able to be of service and provide the care that they think is to make decisions, is to be this person that's going to be mean and my aunt wanted, and you have to, I have to navigate that. I have to be able to make sure everyone is heard in a way that is impactful to help bring them some sort of comfort and grief in the end of the person. And LGBTQ folks, it's a hard death because most of them have been estranged from their families. So, 2020, a friend of mine in the community, we didn't know she was sick because it was COVID. None of us knew. She was a trans woman. And she passed. We all found out on Facebook, which was crazy, right? And had the memorial service and stuff at Apostolic Church, Pentecostal. I was Pentecostal. I'm still a Pentecostal, to a certain degree. And me and Jesus, we okay. But sometimes I don't like him, right? But she died, and they put her in a casket. They dead named her. They misgendered her. They put her high school picture with like a beard and stuff on her obituary in a Pentecostal church, right? And pronouns were wrong, all of this stuff. And it was hard for us because we knew her and respected her for who she was to us, but the family had it in the Apostolic Church. I was able to go because in Cincinnati area, I know most of the Pentecostal people, and they had somebody at the front of the church not allowing drag queens in, like literally, oh no, if you had too much going on, they wouldn't let folks with heels on that was too big in, they're like, and it was crazy and it was wild. And there was nothing we could do about it, mainly because she didn't have the right paperwork in. So she didn't have, and it's hard to talk about death with queer folks because it's just hard to live. In a world where they're taking away rights and wanting to do all of these things, who really wants to talk about death and dying? But it's important if misgendering is important. And so we're in there, and the ones that they let me in because they know I would have probably started cussing and fighting. And I really will. And I show my ass. And they knew I would, I believe. And the mother knew me too, but also because I have access into spaces that a lot of queer folks won't have, which shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing. So I can go inside of churches and still be respected, even though I do a lot. I'm hopeless romantic, sex workers work, all of these things, but they don't press down on me. But we're going inside the church, right? And they said, you can't come in, but you can come in. You can't come in, you can come in. And we didn't know everything that was going on because we didn't go to the casket. We get to the casket, it's a man in the casket. This isn't our sister. So you see folks crying and falling out because some folks didn't even meet her as we met her. Right. But these folks like, who is this? What funeral are we at? What's going on? Because I'm like, I don't know who this person is anymore. And it was sad. And it was painful. So then, as a community, what we had to do was figure out how do we not have this happen again? How do we deal with this pain and put it into a work? So what I did was I went to funeral homes to see, like, well, what can we do? What does that look like? And the thing that the funeral homes told me was to have a representation of disposition. So that in that case, you make the decisions before you pass at the funeral home, and then the family is not able to come in to do anything. Now, she was estranged from her family. They kicked her out. But the next of kin was the ones that made all the decisions because that paperwork wasn't in place. So then we got with the trans girls and the folks that may need these documentations so that we don't have to feel that pain again. I mean, that was traumatic to walk inside this casket. I'm like, who the fuck is this person here? And then you get in a funeral and then you have to go to a preacher talking about queer folks. And I came up in a Pentecostal religious dogma that was really, really hard on us. And they dropped F-bombs, called us sissies, and all of these things. And we have to sit there to honor our sister, deal with the pain of all of these. I mean, this man was calling us all of these names, dumb dogs that won't bark. Now that was funny though, because I fell out. I was like, oh my God. It was funny. I said, he called us a dumb dog that won't bark. I said, that was a good one. But it was still, but most of the folks had never been to a church like that. Now, I was raised in churches where they called us names. They called everybody names. They called the girls that wore short skirts $2 girls. You know, and you deal with that in a way that it's trauma, it's traumatic, but, you know, it's dark humor for certain people. And I'm like, oh, you good. But what we did was we had our own service memorial for her down at one of the local bars. And we released balloons, had a candle lighting to help with that pain. And then the trans girls and trans men and non-binary folks that need these things in writing, we started talking about so that we wouldn't have to go through that again. But it happened again. And for me, it wasn't as painful because we've given the tools to the community. If you did not, and it's not even expensive, and we had notaries that are in the community that were able to do these things. So, but she didn't do it. She didn't want to put these protections in place. So now the community's upset again. I'm not upset anymore because this is actually your fault. I had to, and folks were mad at me. I'm like, we can't be mad because we gave her the tools. We told her, if you don't get this done, your mother is going to come down here and misgender you. I know it's complicated and it's hard to deal with families and not do that inner work and mental work with therapy and trying to let folks go and all of these things because she still loved her mama. The way I navigate folks, if you cause me harm one time, that shows that you really don't love me. I may let you do it one more time, but then after that, I have to put you in your place. That way, I'm protecting my peace. I'm protecting my family. I'm protecting my community. I'm protecting the folks that love me and loved on me. So she was in the casket as a man, and folks were outraged. I wasn't. Because I have boundaries. I have expectations. If you want me to help serve you, I'm not able to go inside of a hospital and do things for you if you didn't put them in place. I have no control. I can't fight a fight that you wouldn't fight. You didn't want to fight the fight. And you were living. I'm not fighting when you did. I'm not doing it. It's too much effort. It's too much time. It's going to take my peace away. So how can I actively fight against your parents, your sisters, your brothers, if you didn't fight against your family, your sisters, and your brothers? Now, it hurt us, and it hurt them, and they wanted to go to court. I'm like, well, I'm not going to court. Y'all can try to do all of those things. I go to the funeral and see her how they put her. But that's not the fight. That's not my fight. I have a client now, young person, having bodily things to where they need a transplant, kidney. And we've been having conversations about death and what that looks like for him, trans person. Actually, the first transplant client I've had. But death is hard to have conversations about. And sometimes he's doing good. Sometimes he goes into the space where he's in the hospital for days and weeks. And I get phone calls like, so what can you do? I can't do anything because he still is not doing his part. I call, I'll reach out and see what's going on. He don't call me back. It's not my fight. I'm not able to put myself in a position of support if he won't do his part. Simple POAs for health, finances, and stuff. Because the last time he went in, mom couldn't have access to pay rent because everything was in his name, couldn't go to the bank, couldn't do all these things, so threats of eviction, because the landlords don't care. And the preparation part is the protecting of the family. Some folks think holding it in and not telling folks what's going on is going to be the protection. It's not. That's where most of the pain comes from. Because you're not allowing your family to process through with you, to try to figure it out, to make up a plan, to put in scenarios in play. If this happened, who is going to do this? If this happened, who's going to do this? And even tell their employers, my mother's sick, my brother's sick, this person is sick. In the event that this happened, I may have to take off these days. So the work is prepared versus having to leave work last minute and then don't have a job if they don't have a decent FMLA plan and all of these things. But most people think that holding it in and not putting the preparation pieces together is the protecting part. It's not. Because now the sisters, the brothers are going to be fighting because they don't know what to do. So then they have a death doula there that's trying to work and navigate. So I always tell people I work in the in-between because half the shit that comes, I don't really know answers to because every family's different. So I have to figure out who's the crybaby, who's this person, who's the assertive person, who's the strong person. And many times it's always like they're putting the oldest child as the most responsible. And it's usually not. I'm finding that, the oldest child is usually not the responsible one. And I'm finding that it's usually the middle or the baby that is able to really do the things required. And like a woman who passed, she was a sainted woman. And her daughter was in control of her policies and stuff like that. Well, she died. Well, she was dying, and her daughter comes in. She's on hospice. Her daughter came in and was like, so when did we start physical therapy? So I'm like, what the fuck? Physical therapy, so I'm listening. I didn't say anything. In my face, I'm like, physical. She doesn't understand that these are the last few hours to days with her mother. Why are we talking about physical therapy? She's the oldest, so they're letting her do all of the talks with the doctors, and the doctors running everything through her. And I'm like, she's not capable of making these decisions because she hasn't sat with the pain. She hasn't sat with the grief. She hasn't, and she got to see the dying process. So she had a privilege that a lot of people don't have, to be able to say, my mother's dying. What's next? How do I live? Who's gonna, even if it's who's gonna cook Thanksgiving dinner, who's gonna start cooking ham, how do I get the recipes? What do I do? These are real things. Oh my God, I need her red velvet recipe. All of these things that she could have been going through to help her process. She wasn't processing. This lady is talking about physical therapy for somebody that's about to be dead in 3 days, because that's what they gave her. And so I'm there, I'm listening. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with her about this because her mind wasn't there. And I had to talk to the youngest sister and say, you need to step in to support, because your sister's talking about physical therapy. She's not understanding that mom is leaving. She's not understanding that this is it. So baby girl, she was the one that actually had to start doing the work and supporting the family. And they had to give her that respect and authority that usually the oldest is automatically given, which shouldn't be. So when I come in, no, it should. I'm telling you, it's the oldest is usually the person that's about to act like a baby. They are the ones that I'm like, shut up, right? And it's crazy. Because my brother, he's older than me. He wouldn't know what to do if something happened to my mother. My grandmother, she's 81. I'm actively anticipating her death because she's 81. Now, I may die before her. I don't know, but figuring out what does it look like for our family unit? Because she don't know that she's gonna be cremated, but she is, right? And because I told them I refuse to put her in I'm not paying for burial. I'm gonna be cremated. If you want me to have to spend it, you're gonna be cremated too. You're gonna have an open casket. I'm gonna have an open casket. I'm gonna have a 2-day funeral. But she is a death worker, but hasn't faced mortality. Every time she feels something, she's like, oh God, like when you get older, it's okay. And she's scared. She's scared to die. So I'm working through things with my grandmother who helps people die. But now in her old age, she's seen so many younger people die. They're much younger than her dying, and all of her friends are leaving and all of these. And she's scared. And I'm like, how did you take me to bedside for you to not see it? She's had 3 heart attacks, triple bypass surgery. She still smokes cigarettes, so she really don't care, right? She don't care. But I'm working with my own family on what that looks like for us. How is that pain of her death going to affect us? How are we going to navigate? She can't cook like that anymore, so we don't have to worry about her food because she cook her own food because she thinks that less salt is going to keep her alive versus stopping smoking cigarettes. But pain, spiritual pain, being affirmed by God. And many of us have religious things that we don't deal with. And again, LGBTQ folks, of being an abomination that's being spewed all across. But most times, when folks die, they return to the God of their childhood, because that's what they know. And you have to work through that as well, because now it's a fear of hell, a hope for heaven, what happens in the afterlife. I'm scared of going to hell. All you can do is listen, because at the end of the day, we don't know where we're going. I have no hope for heaven. I don't have a fear of hell. My personal belief is that heaven is a reality that we make it to bring us the best comfort, to slip away from here. I say that because I was raised in a Christian household, and if you listen to how Black folks talk about heaven, we talk about heaven, no more pain, no more suffering, no more heartache, no more hurt. Ours is rooted in the trauma of a peace in the great beyond over the Jordan River, and release all of the hurts and the pains that we face here. When I listen to white folks having music, they're Christians, they talk about how beautiful heaven must be. And they're going to see the mother, the father, the folks that have gone on, right? Ours is not even a hope to see our family members. We want to see Jesus and shout troubles over, because this world has been so hard for us. And when I was looking at that, I'm like, well, how they get to see their mamas and daddies, and y'all told us that we won't be able to see our mothers and fathers, that we won't know each other as we are. But when I listen to white music, these folks are saying they about to have a reunion in heaven, have a good time, find their mama. That their mother is teaching angels how to sing. How does that work? Right? But we can't do that. We have to leave the pains of this world. We have to leave the hurt. And that's coming from slavery and all of these things that still comes up with us. We just want to have a release from this world. So for me, I told my granny when she died, she was 91. And if she would have died 5 days, she waited 7 days, she would have died in 5 days, I would have returned the car that I had just bought. Because I bought the car to drive up and down the road. And I was so pissed, because I'm like, girl, I didn't want a car note. You could have died in 5 days. You made it to 91. That's all I wanted you to do. So we threw a party. And I was so upset. I was hot. Because I'm like, girl, I didn't need a new car for real. I didn't want a car note. I did this because I'm driving from Columbus to Cincinnati every other day. And she wasn't sick. She only died because she went to nursing home and couldn't smoke cigarettes. Her body couldn't take that. I told him, I said, she got to die because she can't go through withdrawal at 90 years old. Like, that's a mess. Having nicotine shakes and stuff. I said, Granny gonna be dead. And Granny died, but I told her she couldn't die until her birthday party because she had to give me my money back. No, I had to wear 90 birthday. No, I'm telling you the truth. Like, I told her, I said, you better live to be 91. If you don't live to your birthday party, I'm taking my money out your insurance policy. Because I put a lot of money into this. But happened, and I told her, and she got to see every generation that came from her before she died. We went to her bedside. She got to see all 4 of her kids, all of her grandkids, all of her great-grandkids, all of her great-great-grandkids that was on this earth before she died, and touch them and say bye and give all those things. And we sung to her. The last song she sung to us was Must Jesus Bear the Cross Alone. And we were singing by her bedside, and the last line of Must Jesus Bear the Cross Alone, she took her last breath. Now, I was already prepared for her death, but I wanted to roll around on the ground and kick my feet and all of these things. But I'm like, you can't do that. She was 91. She was tired. You had all of these years with her. And some of them did. And, I wanted to too, because she was my granny. But even with that, I've heard stories afterwards of how, different relationships in families. She caused my brother and sisters pains in the real world where they were growing up, and she said, well, Granny was this, Granny was that. My granny never did those things to me, because I said, if she did that to me, you better believe I wouldn't have been by her bedside when she died. I wouldn't have. Like, I would have been at my house eating coffee and like, kill me when she go. I had another grandparent who we didn't do well together, and she was declining. I got the phone call from my aunt, and she said, hey, she wants to see all of her grandchildren. I said, oh, I'm not a part of her grandchildren. She said, what do you mean? I said, she don't like me and I don't like her. If I come, I'm not coming as a grieving grandson. I'm coming as a death doer. I'm coming to help you all navigate the loss that you're going to experience. Because I grieved her when I was probably like 12. Like her. And at one point, we did have a decent relationship, but, things change. And I said, if I come, I'm not coming to say goodbyes, and I more than likely won't enter the room. Because it's going to cause a pain, a regret, a hurt if she sees me. And then she's going to say, I'm sorry, I'm this, I'm that, because she believed in Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and they don't want to go to hell. So even if they mean. And she would want to try to reconcile and repent to me so that she make it into heaven, which is crazy, right? You can do all these things all these years, and then before you die, you say, Lord, forgive me, and now you wake up in heaven. Bullshit. Right? So, and that's what was happening. And I said, if I come, I can't be there. I'm going to help you all grieve her. I think it's best that I don't go in, that she can say her goodbyes to folks that love her, to folks that support her, to folks that are going to miss her. Because I'm not going to miss her. I don't even see this woman except twice a year at a funeral at the church I grew up in, and I don't even speak to her. I act like she doesn't exist. And so, and they were like, and then I said, if I do go in the room, I'm going to send her on her flight. Come on, girl, let's go. Right? Let's sing these songs to get her out of here. So I only went to the funeral just to make sure it was her in the casket. Like, is that really you? Because I didn't like her, But those are things and the pains that you have to deal with. You have to be able to say, if I don't go, how would that impact me? If I don't support this person, how would that impact me? My father went to the hospital. I didn't go and see him one time either. And if he gets sick again, I bet you I won't be there. I can't actively serve and support him. So all of these things I've dealt with. I say, how do I best serve my family in spaces that I've compartmentalized the grief, sat with that loss, and dealt with it, and let myself feel the loss. Because if I'm going to regret it, I need to see why. What's the loss that it's going to do and have for me? Why am I going to regret this person that I don't even talk to? What does that mean? Am I regretting this because I think I should? And why do I think I should? So I'm dealing with all of this stuff even while serving, even while being present within my family, because my family thinks like I'm cold when it comes to death. And I'm not really, except if I break down, everybody's going to break down. So when I get with my strong friends, that's when I'm like, oh God, she gone, I can't do that. Yeah, but I have to sit with that. What's going to happen if I don't go? Is it going to come up later on down the years? Is it going to impact me in which I'm not able to survive and cope to heal? Because if I don't, what does that look like? How am I going to continue to live life when this person slips away? So all of those things, all of that pain, all of that hurt, all of those mental things are happening. And my whole goal is living without regrets. What regrets? Shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and all of those things that may come up. So, pain. That's pain, right? So that's basically it. So for me, I just want you all to look at death and dying from a different lens of how to serve, how to build community, how to take in the pain, but know how to use it, know how to navigate, and feel it. Don't just compartmentalize it and throw it somewhere else, but allow that to come in, even if it's in the shower. Cry in the shower and let all of that shit out, and then think about it and run scenarios through your head of what happens when and if. That way, you're able to be the support. You're able to be your support to go through this death and dying process. Live intentionally, live without regrets, and live on purpose. So that's it for me. Questions, answers, I guess.
I wonder, do you have a personal practice for your own self-care, with putting yourself in such emotional situations on a regular basis, like prayer, meditation, what might that manifest for you?
So for me, sex work is work. I'm sex positive and I do all of the sex things. I have to travel to do my self-care because I can't be in the city. I can't be somewhere where I'm accessible. Because if I'm accessible, somebody's probably going to die and they're going to call me. I actually have to go. I can't say, oh, no, I'm not coming. That's just not how it works. I leave the city, and spirituality for me is sex stuff. That's how I find relief. That's how I am able to process things. I'm able to release and give and exchange these energies with people and get strength from that. So if I'm not doing that, then I have to probably tell folks, hey, I'm just resting today. If it's not an emergency, don't call me. But it really doesn't work. So I leave the city. I go have a lot of sex. I do. I post on my Twitter, say, hey, I'm coming to the city. Who coming over? I do. It's real shit. So, but that's one way of it. And then outside of that, I'm still a Pentecostal at heart. I still love the sound of a black church with drums, folks speaking in tongues, women wearing white, women wearing these long white things down, holy women, that love Jesus. I go into those spaces and I relive those moments of authentic relationship with God, of an authentic experience that I know I had. I sit there and I speak in tongues and I roll around on the ground and I'm like, okay, I can go now. I don't sit for the service. I don't listen to the music. I go in. If I go to my old church, they know I'm coming just to get a good dance and a shout in. And then I go back. I release all that stuff that way too. Yeah.
I have one question. I loved hearing you talk about your boundaries, setting boundaries, how important that is, and it's something that I feel like it's taken me a long time to learn. And I'm obviously not perfect, but do you feel like that's something that you've kind of like a skill that you've always had, or is it something you've had to develop over time?
I've developed it over time, but I've always had. I've been cussing out people since I was 7. No, real shit. And my daughter Ivy, she's 2, and she told my child, she told her mom, "I'm gonna kick Trey ass." Trey is her cousin, so I could get mad because I cuss. But no, I've always been a very outspoken person. Even at 7 years old, I'm cussing out grown people like, "You ain't my mama," My mama gave me this gum, and it developed over time, but I've always had strong boundaries because early on in life, folks that were supposed to protect me didn't. And I had to understand, well, how this person say that they love me, but they call me, I'm like 5 or 6. I never had to come out because I've been out since I came out. And it's like, sissy, fag. This person that says that they love me is calling me this 5, 6, 7 years old. So now I have to start, and then another person that's supposed to take me listening to this and don't say, you need to stop. So only person in my life that was really the protector was my grandmother. Nobody would ever say anything like that. And one of my uncles, but was the one that she wouldn't allow to happen. So I had to see what this person says that they love me, but their actions aren't doing those things. And now I'm putting a boundary up because now that's not love. That can't be love because you're intentionally harming me. So 5 to 6, 7 years old, I'm going through, put people in places in my life. I have to move you, put somebody in miscellaneous because I don't know what that really meant, but it's going to probably show up years down the line. And it showed up years down the line from when I didn't even know what gay was. But a person in my life was like, yeah, such and such said you was gonna be gay. And I'm like, what? Huh? But now, in my old grown age, this person showed what that meant. So it was in the back of my mind, I can't really give my all to this person and have this unconditional love, because I remember this is what they said about who I was at 7 and 8. Now in my grown age, it showed up some 20 years later. I'm like, oh, this is what they meant. So those boundaries that I have started early, but I worked on them to develop in what is most healthy for me. And it doesn't work for everybody, because I can cut somebody off like this. Because now I'm about to start grieving you. Because if you die tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, I should have made it right. Let me go ahead and you die right now in my life. You are literally, I won't ever speak to you again, so you're dead. And you probably see me on Thanksgiving, but you don't exist anymore. And I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna cry when you go. I may never come to the funeral. So yeah. Boundaries, they help.
Yeah.
It don't, wait, you go.
So the line reads, it's hard to talk about death with queer folks because it's hard to live.
Uh-huh.
Fracture my heart, like that's really powerful and really true. And thinking about the people in your life that didn't take the right precautions, so they weren't honored as who they were in death. And then you said that arrangement would have to go through a funeral home. Is that how? Like I guess now I'm going from the emotional to the practical. Like how easy is it for someone to make those calls? Do they have to know what funeral home they're going to be at, or is it just something they can put in a will or in something?
My question is very related, so I'm going to put that out there too. For I guess specifically trans people who don't have a ton of money, like where would you suggest they start? So I feel like
what's the first thing you should do?
So what I usually tell folks is, it's called a representative of disposition. In Ohio, you don't need like a lawyer and stuff to do certain things. Oh, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, and if you watch it, so in Ohio, all you need is a notary to do certain things and witnesses. And it doesn't cost anything to have those in place, but folks need to know you have them in place. The reason I did the funeral home is because I did a funeral home that I usually work with. Like it's easy, and I wanted to know what that looks like. So I usually I've only served people of color in most cases until the end. Excuse me, maybe set with other ethnicities and stuff like that, but the whole dying process, spending the night, is usually with black folks and brown folks. So anywho, funeral home is the easiest place because that's where you're gonna go. So you can make those things established, and then they also know that in the event that you have it, you've already did your pre-needs package and whatever that looks like. So I recommend for queer folks that don't have money is to go to the funeral home of your choosing and know that they honor trans bodies, queer bodies, and all of these things. Ask them, do you respect trans, queer folks, blah, blah, blah. They probably gonna say yes, but then ask them like, well, how many have you done? What does that look like? Ask those questions, because they gonna say yes, because they need the money, they want the money. But then start the pre-needs package where you can pay on it like monthly. That way, you don't have to have a GoFundMe. And all of those things, because as I'm getting cremated, but my service is, I think it was like $3,500 total for what I want. And then it was split over, I think 2 years of monthly payments to be able to pay, because there are things that I want. So, and I did all those things with the funeral home. So when they get the body, they already have everything you want on file. You were there, you did it. That way, your family members have to come and say, or your friends, hey, I have this, and you don't to go with the courts and stuff. I think it will work, I don't know, but the notary portion of it is the legal documentation that you just need. So you don't have to have money. If you don't have money and you know a notary, that person and you, as long as you don't have like inheritance and stuff with what they want for like wills and stuff, but you could just name them and give the copies out so that when you go, somebody has it, they can say, no, I'm the real representation and disposition and all of these things. So that's what I would do, because you don't need money. We all know a notary. Print it offline, do it, get the seal, you got it. And you can amend it. You can add it. I be updating my shit. I go to funeral, I like that. Okay. And I do, because I have a relationship with folks. I'm like, okay, I need to amend this here go y'all's copies. So, yeah. Anybody else? Anything else?
You were talking about how, when people are dying and stuff, that their significant other ones and stuff that are left can sort of start the grieving process and know that this is going to happen and stuff. But what I found is that I've had some really good friends and family members who've committed suicide, and it's just out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what to say to the family members and stuff. What could support them, what could comfort them and stuff, because it's just so blindsiding. And I'm like, this is happened a couple of years ago, and one that happened just this year, and I'm just sort of like, they're running out of brothers and stuff. They don't have as many family members as they used to have, and like, do I bring them up? Do I talk about them? Or family gets together. I just don't know how to navigate that.
So when I started off talking about the woman that caught me, her son actually committed suicide. Young person, only 20. And what I found is that you don't have to say actually anything, but be present. And it's the little things that count. So what I was doing was, when they got back, somebody had already been at the house cleaning. And folks were bringing food. And it's seeing what needs to be done. So kitchen needs cleaned. Is the bathroom clean? Go check the bathroom. Is there laundry that they're not touching because they can't even get up? I would ask, what laundry is your personal? Because some folks are uncomfortable with that stuff. But like the towels, the regular clothes, wash the clothes, clean the house, bring the food. Folks are calling like, do you need anything? She's like, no, we don't need nothing. Give me the phone. We need toilet tissue. We need paper towels. We need Kleenex. We need laundry detergent. We need go in the cabinets. Do they have food? We need frozen food, because they're not going to be able to get up to cook. We need chicken pot pies. We need lasagnas. Just throw in the oven, because they're going to probably put it in the oven and then go to sleep and more than likely burn it, right? So they may need another one to replace that, because they don't know what to do. This was sudden death, a taking of the life. And I respect bodies. Folks have full body autonomy, whatever that looks like. So I personally don't think that you have to say anything, because I don't think saying anything actually helps. I'm present. I'm supportive. I'm looking to see, are they grieving? Are they feeling it? I don't tell them I'm coming. I just pop up, because if I tell them I'm coming, then they're going to clean the house. Then they're going to make sure, no, I'm going to come pop up so I can see how you're really living. I need to see all of those things. That way I can be like, you want to go and talk to somebody professionally? And those things. You're looking to see, are they practicing and putting into those. They should be able to sit in the house and not move. They lost a child. They lost a brother. And I'm just looking to be the support, to cook food, to bring food, and do those in-between things that folks don't see. Did they hide dishes in the oven that they didn't want to clean? Take them out the oven. Wash the dishes. Do all of those things. That's the support. That's the work. That's the community. They don't want to have company. Invite folks over. What are they going to do? You know, what are they gonna? No, folks coming over. We about to have a potluck. Even though I don't really potluck like that, but but we're gonna have a potluck. Everybody bring something. I do store-bought potlucks, and do those things. And game nights. I just watch movies. Oh, I just cry. Because in those spaces you can. It's more intimate. It's more of a release. It's more of a help. That y'all both cry and weep together, but you also have to make sure that you don't take the opportunity to be selfish and grieve more than they grieve. So now you have to compartmentalize how much of grief that you're going to actually give out in that moment, even though it hurts. You can't. It's not responsible to hurt more than they hurt, and you're there to support them. So that's how I navigate those spaces. That's it. But thank you all so much.